Well, last year, when I first came on board here at the school, they had one person doing all the check-in, check-out. And so there was probably 20 to 25 students coming and going, and it was just a real quick, touch base, but I didn't feel that it was any real deep conversations or connections were going on with kids. And so I thought about trying to figure out how to share the load and what could we do. And so we were looking at all different types of tools, and this is one that I came across and thought this is a way to get parents more involved too, because it has the, you take it home and parents sign it and they bring it back and they get extra points. And so anyway, we looked at different programs, and this was one that looked promising for the kids, but we set it up a lot differently. So we have one adult for no more than 3 kids doing the check-in, check-out. So.
And so tell us a little bit more about the setup and the ratio of adults to students.
It's we try to share the load so that one adult can really have a quality check-in with a student, and we have another adult who does all the maintenance of the cards and the scanning and setting up the cards. And then, of course, the teacher is the one who recommends which kids they feel are appropriate for the Tier 2. We use it mainly with Tier 2 students. And so this way, we have one adult for, just a couple of students, and then one classified staff or hourly staff who does all the scanning and the maintenance of the cards, which really shares the load across the board. And I think it just makes the implementation just that much better.
So from your perspective as a principal, has it demonstrated that it's a support, a good resource in communications and in reports? I mean, I'm trying to understand. So nice design for kids. Mm-hmm. How about benefits for administrators?
Well, I think the way that the collects the data, and it really gives us a breakdown of where, what, when, what time, and it just gives us some really good data that we can look at and we can target, specific behaviors. So we have 3 behaviors that we focus on for one student that's very, that's for that particular student, whatever they need to work on. And then we can evaluate by looking at the data over time and seeing how they're doing. A lot of times the kids want to stay. What we found is they want to stay on the card because they've made that connection with the adult. So
on that note, what kind of impacts have you seen for the kids, both in terms of the changes in their data, but also just how they're functioning at school?
Well, I've noticed, most of the kids that we select have at least an 80%, they've met their goals. And so the challenge for us has been, it's worked so well, is letting go of the student. And, because they made that connection with that adult, so they don't necessarily want to lose that. So we've kind of just continued using the check-in with those students for a little bit of a longer period of time, because the adults and the child have made a great connection. So really it's been successful overall. The only challenge we've had sometimes is when they take home the card and try to get it signed by a parent and bring it back. That's been a little bit of a challenge, and we're still working on that. So.
What plans for expanding the program?
Yeah, next year what we want to do is ask that every teacher in the school take on 1, maybe 2 students, and that way, not their teacher, a different adult, that they could almost a mentor sort of a model. So they would do the check-in with that adult, and again, we'd still have the one person maintaining all the cards for the teachers to protect their time, and it doesn't take that much time, but sometimes when you have a lot of students and you're trying to get ready in the morning, it can be stressful for a teacher. So that's why we chose to have one person be the data person. And so she does all the scanning and maintaining the cards, but we want to expand it. We started on a small scale to see how it worked, and now we're ready to expand it to the whole school.
How did you select the coordinator?
Well, I looked at those available staff is one of the reasons. That's one of the factors. The other is, I mean, you don't have to be really tech savvy, but this particular adult is very tech savvy, and so that helps too. She knows, how to work with programs pretty quickly, and she didn't really require a whole lot of training to get this going. So I picked someone who I knew could just pick it up and run with it. So.
For the person who's doing the check-ins and check-outs, Josh or whoever else you're selecting, how are you matching students with that person?
Well, I know that sometimes adults connect with, I mean, we're just human. We connect with certain, maybe certain age groups developmentally. And, I looked at a couple of the students that we have right now, they really needed a male role model in their life. And so part of the reason in picking Josh, he's our PE teacher, was to give them that connection as well. And he seems to really connect well with intermediate students. And then we have adults that just by nature have a more maybe nurturing approach, and so they might be a better match for maybe a primary student. So we look at the adults and try to match them up with who are they really going to connect with, or who are they connecting with now in the school. And so that's kind of.
So you mentioned the reports, and I'm curious if you've been able to use those reports in either meeting with staff and or families and thinking about how to provide additional support to students.
Well, we have a PBIS team that meets monthly, and so we go over, we talk about what we call our Tier 3 students, we talk about our Tier 2 students, and so we have shown them some of the data from the cards and celebrated the successes in that team meeting. We're at this point, like I said, ready to expand to the whole staff, so we're going to be sharing out some of that. As far as the parents, we make a lot of phone calls. We encourage the parents to help us out and return the cards, and we try to involve them that way. If we have a parent meeting, it's something that we bring into the parent meeting with that particular student who's on the connections cards.
So what feedback have you gotten from staff and then students about the program?
The kids really like it. They get excited in the morning because they're connecting with an adult that they feel cares about them. And so I've noticed that we've been able to increase, there's a student who's absent a lot, and he came today because, he was really excited about checking in with the adult. And so sometimes it really helps that way too. It motivates them to want to come to school because they know that there's an adult that cares about them. And they know that we're watching and that we care and we're asking questions, and they may not have that at home. So it gives them that adult in their life that almost like a mentor. So.
What about the teachers of the students? How have they responded?
They really have only said positive things. They feel like we're ready to bring in more students. They want to refer more kids for the program because of the success that we've had with the few kids that we started with. And so I've only heard positive comments from the teachers, and they feel that it's really helped the kids think about their own behavior because we've targeted specifically to that individual. And it's helped them out a lot too. They didn't have to create something. They carry this with them throughout the day. So it really wasn't any more work on the teacher. All we did was get some information from the teacher. What are some of the things that the student is struggling with, and we put the card together for the teacher. All they have to do is do the rating pieces throughout the day, and it really, I think, helps the teacher because it's one less thing that they have to think about, really.
How do teachers refer students to the program?
We have a Tier 2 screening tool that we use around October this year. We used it. It's to identify students that fall in that Tier 2 category, you know, less than 3 referrals maybe. We look at their history. Sometimes they're brand new, so we don't have history. But those students that tend to kind of are starting to bubble up a little bit, but not our real high flyers that you know, that we call those our Tier 3 or even Tier 4 students. So they're typically kids that have had like 2 major referrals, but a lot of minor things, a lot of minor referrals, which...
What kinds of behaviors?
Yeah, like, things that are easily distracted in class, you know, out of seat, nothing really extreme. Usually it's hands to self, maybe on the playground, rough play, some little things that need correction. And so we've identified that those are chronic things that are going on, but they're not so severe that they, you know, that they're a student that needs a whole separate kind of a plan. But those are the kids that we found this works for the best.
You mentioned that you have structured recess. Tell us a little bit more about structured recess and how that is a support for some of these students.
Well, a lot of times the students don't always know how to join in a game. There's a lot of conflicts about rules. And so we've, with our added PE teacher that we have this year, it's been really nice because he's been able to get some intramural sports going during lunch recess and some of the other recesses when he's not teaching PE. So he's out there with the other adults, and they have organized games and sports for kids that they can either sign up for, and they have to sign up for one thing, or we just assign them depending on, you know, today we're doing ultimate frisbee, for instance, in 6th grade. And the kids at first, they weren't sure about it because they like to just walk around and do whatever, you know, they want to do. But when the adults got involved and really started coaching the kids outside, they actually loved it. And so you'll see, maybe we'll get a chance to see that today.
One of the program features is having celebrations. Have you been able to set that into place yet?
Not yet, but the celebrations happen between the student and the person who's doing the check-in, check-out, and the parent. And we usually have a reward or an award tied to if the student sort of graduates from the card. And like I said, we have most of the kids that we've placed on the card have graduated or met their goal, but it's hard to let them go.
Sorry, could you just answer that one again?
Yeah. Can you ask it again?
Yeah, go again.
How you doing?
You okay, Jess? You think you're going to make it?
Maybe. I had a bit of a cold, so
oh, no.
maybe I'll step out for a
minute. Okay. So tell me a little bit about celebrations and how students get recognized for meeting their goals.
Okay. Well, each of the students, we get kind of an interest inventory from them. What are they interested? What will they work for? And we usually do tie it to an award. But it seems that they want to do it anyway, but it's nice to have a reward that's also tied to if they meet their goal. So when they do meet their goal,